Hey and welcome back to my channel where I create content about personal finance, sharing with you everything I've learned and everything I'm learning on my financial journey. Today I'm going to talk to you about something that's completely changed my life, and that's becoming debt-free other than a mortgage. And I did this on a low income. Before we get into the video, please remember to hit the subscribe button, and if you hit the bell icon, you'll get notified when I release future videos. And if you get any value from this video, please remember to hit the like button. So 3 years ago, I found myself in more than £5,000 worth of debt because I was living above my means. I just changed my career into the public sector where I was earning a low income of only £19,000 a year. The minimum payments for my debts were crippling me, and I had to learn how to manage my finances. So I decided to take control of my finances by reading a bunch of books about finances and watch tons of YouTube videos about how to become debt free. It took me about 6 months to pay off all this debt on a low income with all the principles that I'm going to share with you today. The reason I share this information online is hopefully to help somebody who's in the same shoes as me and can improve their finances. So first and foremost, I think the thing you need to get in place first is the right mindset. You need to know your why. What is the reason you want to become debt free? And it can't just be because you want to have more money. That just won't be sufficient. It could be that you want to be able to afford 2 holidays a year, buy your dream car, or the house that you've always talked about. For me, I want it to be completely debt free other than my mortgage, so that I never felt the way I used to always feel about money. Anxious. I wanted to be in a position where I didn't owe anything to anybody and I can focus on building generational wealth for my family. You need a why to visualize when things get tough. The truth is, for most people trying to become debt free, it's going to mean sacrifice, and it's going to need a lot of hard work, which inevitably is going to make you at points want to give up. Before you get started, you need to know where you are so you can figure out where you're going. One of my favorite quotes is by Jordan Peterson. You see where you aim at, so aim carefully. You need a goal, and it needs to be crystal clear in your mind what that goal is, and you can't be vague about it. You're going to have to spend some time being very honest with yourself about how much debt you actually have. For some people, this could be a daunting task. Get yourself a piece of paper and a pen or an Excel spreadsheet and list all of your debts with their totals. This may take a bit of digging, so block out some time in your schedule to sit down and make sure you get this right. So you need to add up the balances on all of your debts, including credit cards, personal loans, store cards, overdrafts, but not your mortgage. Then add up all of your totals and become familiar with that number. You need to remember that this number going forward is only going to get lower, not higher. So mortgage debt is the only debt that is acceptable, since the majority of people cannot purchase a home without one. It's commonly called good debt, as you're leveraging money by buying an asset that goes up in value. Don't get me wrong, you're going to want to get rid of that mortgage as quickly as possible. But this is the only debt that you should be okay with carrying. If you want to see a video about the pros and cons of paying your mortgage early, I'll link my video above. So now that you know exactly how much debt you're in, let's move on to the next stage. You're going to need to create a budget. I won't go into the deep details of creating a budget because, again, I've created a video about that, which I'll also link in the video above. And if you're really new to budgeting or you struggle with budgeting, pause this video, go back and watch that first. Your goal when it comes to paying off debt is to do it as quickly as possible in a sustainable way to ensure the highest likelihood of actually becoming debt free. In its simplest form, you need to spend less than you earn. You need to have a plan, and you need to be intentional with all the money that comes into your life, regardless of how little or how much you have. This can only be done by budgeting. Budgeting is giving every single penny a job. You tell your money where to go rather than wondering where it went at the end of the month. It's about taking full control of your finances. Now, a budget could be as simple as writing your income on a piece of paper, then listing all of your outgoings, minus your outgoings from your income, making sure it ends up at zero. This, surprisingly enough, is known as zero-based budgeting, and is something that I'm a strong proponent of. By doing this, you just can't be vague. It forces you to be intentional and have a job for every bit of money that comes into your life. You're going to want to decrease your outgoings by getting rid of anything that's unnecessary in your budget. Look at cancelling those old subscriptions, find a cheaper place to do your weekly shop, or contact your mobile phone and internet suppliers and see if you can lower your rates. All of these small little changes add up quickly. You will need to focus on making sure that your basic needs are met first. Now, this includes things like housing, so either your rent or mortgage, your food, water, transport to get to work, whether that's a car, bus, train, and an internet connection so you can watch the Frugal Spender YouTube channel. Let's move on. The truth is, once you have all these basic needs met, you can do without those little luxuries until you're debt free. So you may realise at this point that you do not have enough money coming in to cover your basics. And this is probably the reason why you're in debt in the first place. If this is you, stop paying off debt immediately and seek help. I would suggest you either contact Citizens Advice, the National Debt Line, or Step Change. Do not bury your head in the sand and get help. If, however, you realise that if you're intentional with your money, you can actually allocate money towards paying off debt, then we can move on to the next stage. So you're going to need to save between £500 and a £1,000 emergency fund. And this should be done whilst you're paying the minimum payments to all of your debts. Having an emergency fund for me was one of the biggest transformations in my financial life. Before learning about personal finance, I never understood the power of having a little bit of money set aside just in case. So having an emergency fund stops you from getting further into debt by having a small cash reserve to use for a minor emergency. So things like fixing the boiler or getting a new washing machine or an unexpected car repair that will become an inconvenience rather than spiralling you further into debt, more than likely causing you to just give up. Well, you might be asking yourself at this point, should I be saving 500 or 1,000? And the truth is, it's different for everyone. It needs to be what feels right to you. Whatever feels like the best buffer for you within your finances. The problem is, when in debt, saving this money can seem impossible. Trust me, I know. This is where having that intense mindset is going to help you. The way I did it was by selling stuff in my house and picking up loads of overtime at work. This will also put you in the mindset of being disciplined. You need to be intense and you need to be focused to get this part done, but trust me, it's worth it. Once you manage to build up an emergency fund up, do not be tempted to spend this money. It is solely for emergencies. And equally, do not be tempted to pay off debt with this money before you have it in place. So this is your buffer going forward to make sure your journey to getting rid of all your debt is not interrupted. Okay, so now you've got your emergency fund in place, and now it's time to utilise the Debt Snowball. So the Debt Snowball is a method of debt repayment that's been popularised by Dave Ramsey. To math nerds, this method is pretty controversial. It goes against the logical method of paying off the highest interest rate debt first. The opposing method is called the debt avalanche, whereby you list your debts in order of interest rate from highest to lowest and start paying off the highest first. With the Debt Snowball, however, you list your debts in order from size, from smallest to largest, irrespective of the interest rate. You start by throwing as much as you can at the smallest debt whilst paying minimum payments on the rest. Once the smallest debt is paid off, you take the payments you were paying on that debt and put it towards your next debt, accumulating over time, and that's why it's called the Debt Snowball. This method taps into your emotions and takes advantage of human psychology more than anything else, as you're going to be motivated by every small win. By seeing progress being made, it multiplies your motivation to become debt-free. It's not going to take you ages to get rid of your first debt. If, however, you feel the best method for you is to focus on interest rates rather than the smallest value, it may be worth looking into balance transfers when it comes to your credit cards. By doing this, you may get a lower interest rate or potentially a 0% interest rate that's going to allow you to put more money towards the capital. This isn't how I did it or how I'd recommend doing it, but if this makes you pay off your debt, I'm on board. A quick tip to keep you on track with paying off your debt is to automate your payments. Now this can be done by setting up direct debits or automatic payments. Lenders are going to want you to pay the minimum as long as possible because it means they're going to make more money on interest. They're going to encourage you to pay the minimum, which is fine on debts that you aren't currently attacking. However, the ones that you are attacking, you're going to want to pay a heck of a lot more than the minimum payment. By setting up an automatic payment from your bank account towards that debt every single month, you're forcing yourself to pay more money towards it. You're playing a mental trick on yourself so that you think that is the minimum payment and you're not going to go below it. You may even consider setting up a second payment in the middle of the month for a little bit extra. I found that making 2 payments every single month, one in the middle of the month, really felt like I was being really aggressive at attacking that debt. It doesn't have to be a lot of money, it can just be an extra payment of £5 or £10. You're going to want to increase your income. Now, this is extremely easy to say, but could sound impossible. I used to always have a really restrictive mindset when it came to my income. Whatever salary or wage I was currently on, it felt like that was the roof of my potential earnings, which in hindsight was the cause of my limited income in the first place. For me, it was a cycle that was only broken by reading plenty of books about personal finance and also mindset. I really do believe that anybody can earn more money, whether it's a single mother or a CEO. The internet has opened a world of possibilities for side hustles. I'm going to do a video about side hustles in the future, but a quick Google search will teach you how to make extra money sitting at home. So at this point, you should have decreased your outgoings and hopefully found another income stream. It doesn't matter how small that income stream is, even if it's just doing surveys online or making an extra £5 or £10 a month. Every little bit's going to help you attack your debt. The quickest and easiest thing you can do is decrease your outgoings. However, if you combine that with increasing your income, you can have a much bigger shovel to dig yourself out of debt. Some people can get out of debt quickly, but for others, it's going to take a long time. But don't give up. It's going to be worth it. All that hard work will pay off. The day that you pay nothing to anybody else and everything that you earn stays within your pockets is a great day. This really is the importance of having a strong why and having it in the forefront of your mind. Think of it whenever times are hard. So now let's fast forward to the day you're out of debt. You are now going to need to avoid debt like it's the plague. The truth is, there's two camps when it comes to debt. Those who are happy leveraging it and taking the added risk, and then there are people like me who just want to stay away from it at all costs. If you've got this far into the video, I'll suggest that you're leaning towards my side and wanting to be completely debt-free and keeping it that way. You will now have a solid foundation of having no debt and having an emergency fund in place. This will mean that you can save up and pay for things like cars or washing machines or anything else you used to pay for in credit with cash. Now don't fall back into bad habits. Although the feeling you'll have when you're debt-free other than a mortgage should prevent you from doing that, you need to remember what it was like being in debt. You're done with finance, you're done with credit cards, you're done with owing people money. So thank you very much for watching. Please remember to subscribe. And if you enjoyed this content, why not go back and check out my earlier videos. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below.